The villains represent real-world racial and sociological problems. For instance, Get Out is a meta-commentary on the dangers of a casually racist colorblind society. Chris is tricked, enslaved, and sold at auction. But instead of making the villains some stereotypical alt-right, neo-Nazi skinheads, they're middle-class white liberals who say stuff like this.
By the way, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could.
Dialogue like this serves to deconstruct the concept of the deluded liberal ally with a ballet of carefully worded casual racism.
Black is in fashion.
And as Peele stated in a recent talk, Chris's reaction to this experience serves as a darkly comic reminder that the film is very much grounded in reality.
My brother was about to strangle you. He's never done that. Like what? She was having this crisis, and he's the one that's like, actually, this is kind of like normal racism. Like, I'm cool with it. I didn't want to get shot, but I can handle this.
Simply put, I think we can all agree that Peele scripts are incredibly original, unique ideas that we love to talk about when we come out of the cinemas, and it's the dialogue and characterization that make them truly unique. But today I want to talk about an underrated aspect of his films, the way this terrifying subtext is hidden underneath a layer of colors. Before we jump into his movies, let's touch on the psychology of Peele's colours. Obviously, colours carry all sorts of subliminal meanings in cinema. I'm sure you all know that. Green can represent new life, red can represent passion. We all have a basic grasp of what different colours make us think and feel. And analysing films retrospectively, like I'm doing in this video, is pretty simple if given enough time. But how much do you think about colours while you're actually watching a movie? Not much, right? You're too busy listening to the dialogue or following the plot or appreciating the overall cinematography. My point is, colours are used by filmmakers to manipulate our emotions on a mostly subconscious level. They're not expecting you to come into the movie thinking, wow, I reckon there'll be a lot of meaning in these colours today. Instead, they're hoping that the colour and its associated meaning will wash over you without you noticing. Like in Inception, Christopher Nolan makes sure to tweak the palette gradually throughout the film to help the audience identify what level of the dream we're in. It's understated and simple, but buries itself deep within your subconscious. And this is where I think Jordan Peele's colours differ. Especially now that we have a history with his commentary on race relations, it's impossible not to think about colour entering his films. Like take this poster for Get Out. The foreground photo is black and white, the text is black and white, and the background is literally a division of black and white. It's clear that Peele wants you to think about colour before entering the cinema. The same can be said of the posters for Us and Nope. He's constructed the films with a wink and a nudge to the audience that the colours mean something, asking us to pay attention. And with that in mind, let's jump into Get Out. The costume designer for Get Out, Nadine Hayter, stated in 2017, "The film is all about the small nuances of these characters' subverted racism, and we want to represent that through their clothes as well." One of the best examples of this is Walter the groundskeeper. Eventually it's revealed that Walter is another victim of the Caligula operation and has had Roman Armitage's brain implanted into him. Therefore, the Walter we meet is actually the evil grandpa behind the evil eugenics experiment. He's been hiding in plain sight the entire time, running laps of the backyard in a desperate effort to beat Jesse Owens' time.
Was beat by Jesse Owens in the qualifying round for the Berlin Olympics in 1936.
Walter is dressed in brown and green, which lets him blend in seamlessly against the surrounding forest. His colours make him invisible, and it's not until Chris goes to talk to him that things feel weird.
A real doggone keeper.
It's also pretty easy to draw parallels between Walter's camouflage and the colorblind ideology critique throughout the film. Per Amy Welton, colorblindness, or pretending that you don't see skin color, supports and justifies the maintaining of racial inequality because it removes discourses of race and racism, which cause the exclusion and invisibility of racial minorities. In Get Out, Walter and housekeeper Georgina are both kept in the background for the majority of the film, with the Armitages dismissing any reference to their skin color.
White family, black servants.
total cliche.
By representing colorblindness through Walter's chameleonic color palette, Peele also alludes to the horrifying reality of the Caligula experiment. The Armitages don't see color when looking at Walter because they see him as white. The original owner of Walter's body is now stuck in the sunken place, a helpless slave to the newly transplanted white brain. Which brings us to the color grey. The two other slaves in the film are Georgina, who is Grandma Armitage, and Logan, who is actually Andre Hayworth, the man abducted during the prologue. Georgina wears a grey jumper while Logan wears a grey band around his hat. On one hand, this is simple. Grey is literally the combination of black and white, and therefore Georgina and Logan's outfits hint that they are in fact white people in black bodies.
Get out.
I mean, Logan's hatband even provides a cheeky hint to the evil surgical procedure as it's located directly over his brain transplantation scar. Chris also wears a grey shirt to the party, hinting to an unsuspecting audience that he's the next victim. However, some academics have also argued that grey is a direct reference to the colour of the Confederate States Army uniform. The CSA fought in the American Civil War from 1861 to 1865 and promised slaves their freedom if they joined the military. In other words, black people could be freed in exchange for their service to white people. But through their service, the slaves would paradoxically be fighting for a side who are pro-slavery. The Caligula experiments in Get Out replicate this exact same agreement. Black people serve as a human cocoon for the brains of white people, but the black person's service is then rewarded with an eternity of imprisonment in the sunken place.
I'll control the motor function, so I'll be me.
Pretty dark, huh? The two men who Chris and Rose speak to at the party also wear grey, representing the racist CSA directly. They're both at the party because they both want to transplant their brains into Chris's body, one to be cooler, and one to get his golf game back on track.
I do know Tiger.
Oh, that's great.
But what about the rest of the party guests?
Oh,
Not bad. Hey, Nielsen.
This one's a little less subtle, with the contrast between dark and light colours absolutely everywhere. Chris's skin and clothes stand out against the white leather in Rose's car. Rose's parents are dressed in black when Chris first arrives. The white guests arrive in black cars and black clothes to the Armitage residence. I mean, hell, the facade of the house is made of dark bricks while the interior is a much lighter colour. Not only is this a visual representation of the combative race relations in the film, it hints at the racist eugenic experiment. The brain of a white person is transplanted into the body of a black person, so for the entirety of the film, Peele slowly drip feeds us with the visuals of white in black. But hang on, what about Chris and Rose at the party?
My cousin's epileptic. That wasn't a seizure, right?
Red, white, and blue are probably the most important colours when it comes to American representation. They're the colours on the national and state flags, but also represent the political parties. Here, Peele is very clearly leaning into political ideologies, with red representing the more conservative Republican ideologies and blue representing the more progressive Democratic ideologies. Basically, as a racial minority, red represents danger to Chris, while blue represents safety. While this is hinted at later in the film, with the racist guests covered in a sea of red accessories, I believe the colours are best used to foreshadow Rose's turn to the dark side.
Where are those keys, Rose?
At the start of the film, Chris and Rose are both wearing blue. They're the picture-perfect happy couple. However, we now know that this subconscious indicator of Rose's political preferences is intentional misdirection by Peele. She is in fact pretending to be liberal and tolerant to earn Chris's trust and lure him back to her parents' house.
Do they know I'm black?
Yeah.
Then they hop into her bright red car, a vehicle that takes Chris to a very dangerous place, and Rose never wears blue again. It's now just Chris, alone in blue, both literally and visually the minority, as Rose wears this red and white striped shirt the next day. Again, she's playing the dutiful girlfriend this entire time, but the colours indicate that she is now more similar to the partygoers than we first thought, with Peele hinting that she is a danger to Chris. And if we look at this shot right here, it's hard not to see the similarities to the American flag, emphasizing the couple as a literal visual personification of American race relations. Then, when Chris finally finds evidence of Rose's past victims, it's in a red box. Again, red means danger for the entire film, and finally, after fighting his way out of the house, he's not just in a blue shirt anymore, he's in a blood-soaked combo of red, white, and blue, a twisted American dream personified.
I mean, I told you not to go in that house.
I also want to talk about this shot, partly because it's creepy as fuck, but also because it so perfectly represents Jordan Peele's subversion of the white savior trope.
There are no movies where there's not at least one good white person. to give white people that out. Like, I'm her.
After being a racist sleeper agent the whole film, Rose finally gets to let her psycho hair down, munch on some dry Fruit Loops, and sip on a glass of milk. And like most horror films, white is used not to represent purity, but to represent the ordered insanity of a deranged mind.
Wait, I am so confused.
Oh, you confused? Oh, okay.
And on that creepy note, let's talk about Us.
We are afraid of the outsider. Our fear lies in this idea that there's a bad guy coming to get us. This movie is about the fact that we are our own worst enemy.
In Us, our own worst enemy is embodied by doppelgangers called the Tethered, a primitive people who live in underground tunnels. And the message is pretty obvious. We live in a flawed class system where the wealthy dismiss the less fortunate. I mean, in order to escape squalor, Adelaide has to literally kidnap and swap places with her rich counterpart, emphasizing that a capitalist society demands brutality to stay on top. And even before the Tethered arrive, Peele hints at this classist system through the Tylers.
I got the boat.
Good for you, dude.
Boom.
That's fucking awesome. Where'd you get a dinghy?
Oh, shut up.
Color-wise, it's also pretty simple with only two main colors, red and white. But even with only two colors, Peele does a fantastic job hinting at plot twists throughout. Dressed in their ominous blood-red jumpsuits, the Tethered represent the scariest version of ourselves, hence their deeply unsettling opening line.
What are you people? We're Americans.
But they're not hiding, as costume designer Kim Barrett stated, Red, their leader, has no interest in blending in. Color red is a symbol of aggression, a screaming mission, with the shade meant to emulate half the color of wet blood, half the color of dried blood. It's like an old wound. The wound is reopened when Red emerges to kill Adelaide, with the color representing her resentment and rage at being imprisoned. And yes, obviously it's also inspired by the Hands Across America t-shirt, but more deeply, red acts as a dominant symbolic color that has shaped her doomed life. She was carrying a red candy apple prior to entering the funhouse, sees a red exit sign that she can never quite reach, and then is drawn back to the surface by the red figures on her t-shirt. Therefore, the color was at first a warning that she missed, and now it's a symbol of her rebirth.
We've been waiting for this day for so long.
Elsewhere in the film, red and orange are used to represent the fear and danger experienced by the Wilson family. Jason's twin is obsessed with fire, Gabe kills evil Josh in the light of the flare, evil Kitty has this psychotic moment putting on red lipstick, and Adelaide's descent down this escalator feels like a descent into hell. It's a constant warning by Peele that something bad is coming, which is also true of the color white. In contrast to red, Adelaide wears white for the film, dressed as the pure and valiant hero. As we know, this is another fake out by Peele. Adelaide was the baddie all along. She kidnapped the real Adelaide in 1986, and as proven by her guttural scream after killing Red, is a member of the Tethered. This reveal is alluded to a few times throughout the film, most notably when she kills one of the Tyler twins. But it's actually her clothes that give the biggest hint. As Barrett stated, Adelaide doesn't want to draw attention to herself and so wears neutral colours that don't stand out. By wearing boring white t-shirts, she assures that her wealthy friends, who never look beyond the surface,
did you get something done? Just like an itsy bitsy little,
will ever realise that she's a tethered. As Barrett stated, what she chooses is really generic and anyone can project onto it whatever they want to see. But her anonymity slowly vanishes throughout the film as her white shirt gets covered in blood. By the end of the film, she's almost as red, closing the loop with the chilling revelation that she kind of was red all along. Once again, similar to Chris's grey shirt or Rose's slow transition to red clothing, Peele is here foreshadowing the villainy of Adelaide with colour. The other big white element is the white rabbit. The symbolism of rabbits in general would require an entire video by themselves, but for here, the allusion to Alice in Wonderland's white rabbit going down the rabbit hole is pretty unmissable. As a final note, I thought I'd mention how amazing Zora's outfits are. While she comes across as slightly timid and outwardly intimidated by the Tyler twins, Zora ends up foreshadowing a lot of significant events in the film. To start, she states,
"Did you know that there's fluoride in the water that the government uses to control our minds?"
This hints at the later reveal that the government created the tethered to control society, but her clothes give hints too. In an early scene, she's wearing a blue bunny t-shirt in reference to all the rabbits, and for the rest of the film, she wears this sweatshirt which has the Vietnamese word for bunny, which I think is pretty damn cool. All these little Easter eggs make it heaps of fun to go back and rewatch these movies and pick up on something new each time. Alright, on to Nope. As a disclaimer, I've only seen Nope once, so I might need a little bit of help with this one. If you've got any fascinating colour theories, please let me know down below. I'm fascinated to see what people think about this movie. But this one's also kind of hard because the film occurs over such a long time that they're constantly changing outfits. Also, a lot of the colours don't have any special meaning at all. Peele has been very open about using vibrant colours purely because he thought they would look cool against a barren landscape. And all of these inflatable men are just multicoloured because they would help distract the monster jean jacket. Not much we can read into that, and heaps of the other outfits are simply pop culture references. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to talk about Jupe's red suit, OJ's orange hoodie, and Emerald's green shirt.
Are you ready?
With flamboyant embroidery and fringe sleeves, costume designer Alex Poverd said the suit is a direct nod to both Willy Wonka and Elvis Presley. Wonka for the showman side of Jupe, and Elvis because him and Jupe are both examples of what stardom and being an attention junkie does to people. This is the whole subtext of Nope, man's obsession with promoting and then exploiting tragedy as a spectacle. When he was young, Jupe saw Gordy, a supposedly tame animal, kill and maim a bunch of his colleagues. Therefore, he should know that he shouldn't attempt to harness nature for financial gain, but still he naively believes that Jean Jacket, an even more dangerous animal, can be tamed and monetized. And this does not go well. But why is it red? Well, along with the fact that red is commonly associated with danger in Peele's films, potentially foreshadowing Jupe's death, it's also the colour of the cape bullfighters use to attract the bull. In the film, Jupe's attempt to attract Jean Jacket goes horribly wrong, similar to a matador who has misjudged his bull. However, when you realise that the bullfighter capes aren't red because bulls are attracted to red, it's actually to hide any blood, yeah, it's even more grim.
Nah. No. No. No.
Throughout the movie, OJ and Emerald wear what Poverd describes as a cross between cowboy and Compton cowboy, a mesh of casual wear and western wear. Emerald is constantly changing clothes, happy to throw on whatever she can find, and OJ is at home in some beaten up jeans and a Haywood Hollywood horse's hat. But as the film progresses and the siblings grow closer, their clothes represent a reunited family. In the final chase scene, OJ wears this bright orange hoodie and Emerald wears this fluoro green shirt. Now I can't pretend that the colours mean anything here. Like I said before, it's probably just because they pop against the desert. But the orange hoodie is a reference to OJ's first experience on a movie set with his dad filming Scorpion King, and Emerald's shirt is from her character's high school, Canyon Creek. At this stage of the movie, they're not bickering anymore, they've gotten over their differences, and instead they're working together as a family in this weird homage to their dead dad, and the shirts reflect that unity. But there's also a cynical side to this. Both of the shirts, like most of the other clothes the Haywoods wear throughout, have some sort of brand branding on them, some sort of logo. And this isn't by accident. The movie's critiquing corporations, capitalization, and the commodification of literally everything in the world, so Peele decided to brand the characters as well. Not only is Jean Jacket a spectacle, each character is a spectacle in themselves, a walking advertisement, a historical record of corporate greed. Every character except for Antlers Holst, who's presented in an artistic, all-black setup to differentiate him from the rest of the crew. This is partly because he's a photographer who cares more about style over practicality, and this is a comment in itself because he may be wearing designer clothes for all we know, but also because Peele wanted to foreshadow him abandoning their plan in his attempt to capture the Oprah shot. He's in all black, everyone else is in some form of colour. Anyway, beyond that, I don't have too many thoughts about colour within Nope. If anyone has any ideas, let me know. Potentially Jean Jacket, the fact that he's a creamy white alludes to his sort of angelic qualities and the fact that he may be what people saw back in the time, religious aspects. There's lots of things you can read into. Anyway, these films are so multi-layered that I'm sure there's a heap of subliminal colour messaging I've missed. So if you have any thoughts, let me know down below. And until next time, I'm Jack Watson. Thanks for watching. Peace out. See you guys. Bye.
Sink into the floor.
Wait.
Sink.